Hi, friends. This is Laura Whitney with Cache Valley Counseling. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist there, and we love to offer these little videos to help you on your journey through life. This month, we are talking about mindfulness, and some of my colleagues have done some great videos already. And I wanted to focus on being mindful about what we put into our minds. So, just kind of want to talk about awareness of what we view, what we read, what we watch, and kind of be aware of what we're feeding our minds and our hearts. Um, we live in an age of overwhelming media access. This can be our phones, but also movies, television, music, articles, and information online, news outlets, and more. The list of available things is endless and overwhelming. With that much information at our fingertips, we need to be intentional about what we are feeding our minds because this will influence our moods and emotions and even our self worth. An article I recently read stated it very well. It said the use of social media significantly impacts mental health. It can enhance connection, increase self esteem, and improve a sense of belonging, but can also lead to tremendous stress, pressure to compare oneself to others, and increased sadness and isolation. Mindful use is essential to social media consumption. So, how do we know what is okay for us to be doing, reading, watching? This is where the mindfulness can be critical for us. I like to say awareness is the secret to life. In my therapy work, I try to help my clients be aware of their own emotions and thoughts in order to better understand themselves. As we make this awareness a habit, we will better be able to determine what kind of an effect any sort of media has on us. I recently heard a good quote: don't let anyone rent space in your head unless they're a good tenant. So, how do we know if something is a good tenant in our head? We need to we get to be aware of how something resonates with us in a negative or positive way. From there, we get to curate our input. A museum curator decides what will be in the museum and how it will be organized. We get to do the same thing for our own lives. I'll give you some examples for myself. I used to be a total news nerd and I loved watching political news. However, after the 2016 election, I realized that I felt kind of hopeless and, well, icky. Now, this coincides with a tough time in my personal life, and that has to be taken into consideration. I get to put another puzzle piece down and get more insight into myself. So, from a mindful perspective, I get to say, okay, I've got personal stress, and then there's this election negativity, and I feel icky. Okay, well, that's what's happening for Laura right now. So, I made a choice to not watch political news anymore. My personal life continued to be stressful, and then I realized that stories about war and earthquakes and other hard things in the world were also adding to my stress and depression. So, I ended up cutting all news out of my life. That may seem extreme, but for me at that time, it is what I needed to do. As my personal life improved, I slowly started adding things back in. Think of it like an elimination diet. I removed everything and then I would test something out and see how it felt. For now, I'm still pretty protected about what content I let back into my awareness. I'm a little oblivious to what's happening in the world sometimes, but that's just the season that I'm in. Another example is that I was watching a TV show that I love. It's Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I love the Marvel saga and I love Phil Coulson in particular. And I'd seen the series all the way through once or twice already, but I was watching it again a few years ago and I realized that when the fight scenes were going on, I felt uncomfortable. I had just become a little fragile emotionally and my system didn't feel comfortable with the fight scenes. I let myself think about that and I didn't judge myself or think I was a wuss. I just noticed it. And sometimes I would fast forward through a fight scene. I was learning to respect my own responses. I also remember being in a theater watching the Avengers fight the Battle of New York. It went on for so long. I felt very uncomfortable. I and many others watched on September 11th, 2001, when New York was actually attacked, when buildings collapsed and people jumped from the towers in desperation. As I was watching this entertainment in the theater, I was very uncomfortable. I remember thinking, are we really okay with this? It had been 11 years since the World Trade Center and Pentagon had been attacked. It was just too real for me to be watching this battle on the big screen in front of me and considering it entertainment. Now, it's been over a decade since social media got really popular, and more people have cell phones, including teens. We're just now starting to get some research back on the impact this has. What we know is that teen brains are particularly vulnerable to the negative effects of social media and cell phone use. And we've seen an increase in teen depression and anxiety in the last 10 to 12 years. When I get a teen in my therapy room, I always ask them about their phone use. A recent study has found that 70% of teens hide some of their online behavior from their parents. While 12% of parents in the study thought their kids had looked at pornography, it was actually 32%. And cyberbullying was reported at 23% when only 10% of parents thought this was the case. If you're the parent of a teen, you need to be vigilant about checking their phone use on the device and through any other monitoring apps you can utilize. You're not their friend, you're their parent, and you are responsible for helping them make better decisions than their not fully developed brains can make on their own. This means you get to be the bad guy sometimes. For both teens and adults, I recommend turning off all notifications with the exception of notifications from actual human beings. This means texts, emails, and messaging apps. But even then, the notification can be silent. Facebook keeps asking me if I want to enable push notifications, and I say out loud to my phone, no, thank you. I will come to you when I'm ready. The thing is, we live in an amazing time. We have access to pretty much all the information we could ever need or want. We can answer questions in seconds. I was able to look up the picture of the painless migraine instead of thinking I was crazy for seeing this weird, colorful zigzag in my field of vision. We can hold our phone up to the radio and it will identify the song that's being played. That's amazing, right? The special effects in movies are stunning, and we get to express our own creativity and see others' creativity in ways never before imagined. I don't want to make it seem like technology is all bad. It's not. I would actually say it's mostly good. It's just about how we use it. We can use it to keep in touch with family and friends and live in other cities, other states, and even other countries. We're able to keep up on health trends and learn the best way to start a fire in the fireplace of the new home we just bought. We can find directions to a new location and how long it will take us to get there. We can see what the weather is that's coming in order to make plans and prepare. I honestly wouldn't trade the technology that we have, but I've had to realize that it is to be utilized like a car or even a power tool. If we don't learn the proper way to use tools, we can hurt ourselves or other people or even kill them. We and our children need to learn how to use these amazing tools, this amazing media for our betterment. We need to be the master and not be mastered by them. We may have some FOMO about missing the latest show or game, but what about JOMO? The joy of missing out. Sometimes it's very gratifying to not get sucked into the popular or cool new trend. Where do we find peace? The world right now is very stressful, and something is always asking for our time and attention. We need to be intentional and mindful about what we put into our minds and hearts. If following a certain person or account brings you an unsettled, sad, or painful feeling, ask yourself where those feelings are coming from and if that's really something that you want in your field of influence. We will often numb or doom scroll as a coping mechanism or play games or online shop for hours and on end. You don't need to shame or beat yourself up for this behavior. Talk to yourself about it. What's the goal? Are you trying to avoid parts of life uns- or, or certain feelings? Be honest with yourself, withholding judgment. That is the key to awareness. Understanding ourselves without judgment. From a judgment free perspective, we can actually begin to make different choices. So I'd just like to encourage you to be mindful about what you put into your mind and heart. We get to choose. We get to use these tools for our good. And I hope you have a great day. See ya.